Now available. Paperback and Kindle Unlimited. ISIS, the main event. It's carnage inside of a steel cage when the goddess next door steps in the squared circle with the beast from the boss in this action-packed all-new ISIS series adventure. Get ISIS, the main event, paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. Last week, I made a video talking about the recasting of the CW's Batwoman from Ruby Rose to this Javicia Leslie. And when you take a critical examination of the decision to recast this character of Batwoman, there's clearly some racism going on behind the scenes. Now, on the surface, it would look like your Greg Berlanti and the producers at the CW were making this so-called great stride as related to diversity by making Batwoman a black woman. However, when you start to deconstruct the motivations for recasting this role with a black lesbian actress or bisexual actress, you start to clearly see the racism going on behind the scenes. Now, the way many of these woke types work is that they will promote diversity passively, but then aggressively go out here and push racist stereotypes to black people. And this is what's being done right now with the recasting of Javicia Leslie as Batwoman. Yes, they're giving us a black Batwoman, but the character has no content that gives us any sort of substance or shows us any sort of equality as related to the so-called diversity being promoted. Now, I find it interesting that Kate Kane can be related to Bruce Wayne and have access to his billions of dollars and all of his resources, but your Ryan Wilder is some sort of ghetto drug dealer and former drug runner. And making your Ryan Wilder a drug dealer and former drug runner, that breathes brand new life into several racist stereotypes. The first being that in order for a black person to have any sort of money, they have to be involved with illegal activity. Because to say that Ryan Wilder has to be involved with drugs and get her money that way correlates that, oh, the only way black people can have any sort of success is with crime. Any sort of economic success has to come with an association with crime. And that is a racist stereotype that has been perpetuated for decades. I mean, I remember seeing it in almost practically every cop show when I was a little boy in the 70s and the 80s. They would always show you the dope dealer, the jive time pimp, the hustler. And this is just breathing brand new life into that old stereotype of a black person only being able to get money through criminal enterprise. Now, the other issue I have with this Ryan Wilder, again, has to do with her being associated with drug dealers. Again, this is another racist stereotype about black women being associated with criminal enterprise, and that this is the only way she could gain any sort of power. Again, insulting to black women, but so many people are so caught up on the whole emotional aspect of there being a black Batwoman, they cannot see how they've repackaged old stereotypes to present us this character. And again, that is an insult to black women and an insult to black people, because Kate Kane did not need to be associated with criminal enterprise. In fact, she was associated with her father, who was running a security team to protect Gotham City. She was associated with being part of making the city better, but this woman is associated with the criminal element. And then with that whole criminal element, we get this whole story about her looking to atone for her crimes and being this vagrant, another old stereotype about black women being poor. So this show gives us two insulting stereotypes with this Ryan Wilder character. It just shows me how lazy the writing is on this series in its attempt to try to save itself, that these writers really did not think about developing this Ryan Wilder character, all they were looking to do was check off the diversity boxes and looking to find a way to pander to a brand new audience. And that was done because they knew they had alienated the comic fans out there who, when they started to see this show not resembling the classic New 52 comic series that they practically was the only one of the few New 52 comics people bought on the regular because the art and the writing was amazing. They didn't see that kind of story where we got the content of the Kate Kane character. So now they want to pander to black audiences by focusing on the color of Ryan Wilder's skin, and then they want to give us a substandard story, which was what sank the Batwoman show in its first season, because in that first season, they did not give us anything as related to substance with the storytelling. No, the woke people who were running the show, they were so busy trying to push identity politics to the forefront that the story just practically did not exist, and all we got was a cringe fest of a show. And it looks like these same showrunners haven't learned anything, even though they've got a brand new character. They're telling the same old story, and that's just the definition of insanity, because when you do the exact same things and expect a different result, that's just insanity. And the people running this show are insane if they think they're going to just change the color of the character and not focus on giving us quality content in terms of stories. And again, the racism is right in front of us with this recasting of Batwoman. Yes, passively, they've given us a black Batwoman, but aggressively, all we're getting is the same old stereotypes repackaged about black women being involved in criminal activity, old stereotypes about black women not being fiscally responsible and winding up in poverty because this woman now lives in a van down by the river. And we're going to get more stereotypes about the strong, independent black woman, and we're also going to get more beta male Luke Fox after being emasculated by a white woman, we're going to get to see Luke Fox emasculated by the strong, independent black woman. So this show, in its second season, is not giving people any sort of incentive to continue to watch it. And I believe that this show is going to fall even harder in the ratings because this show, when in its first season, already was doing lower numbers than popular YouTubers like PewDiePie and Jenna Marbles, and even doing lower numbers, as I've seen lately from watching Steve 1989 MRE. And here's a guy who has a channel where all he does is eat meals ready to eat and review them, and he gets more views than your Batwoman. And that's an embarrassment when you think about how much this show costs an episode, that an entire creative team could not come up with a compelling show, and a guy eating MREs can make far more entertaining content than all of these people who are supposed to be so creative and so talented. And the guy making a video talking about reviewing meals ready to eat is far more entertaining than this Batwoman show. And this Batwoman show wants to talk about it's representing all of these different groups, but all it does is represent old stereotypes and repackages them. So when I look at this Batwoman show, I mean, it's going to go from bad to worse because this show did not focus on the content of the character, because people wanted to see a Kate Kane show where she is taking on the character she took on in the Batwoman series, and they want a good action-packed show that gives us Batman's rogues in the Arrowverse, because that's what people wanted to see in a Batwoman show. Unfortunately, we got too many woke types at Berlanti Productions, and they were focused on their own agendas, not focused on quality storytelling. Moreover, they show how racist they are, because there's clearly somebody there who has an issue with black women just as much as they have with black men, because to say that the black woman was a former drug dealer and living in a van, this is just old stereotypes in a brand new box, and it shows no real creativity. I mean, is Bruce Wayne the only millionaire? Don't you see how that perpetuates white supremacy to say that Bruce Wayne is the only billionaire? I mean, here you have Gotham City with lots of millionaires, lots of billionaires. Why couldn't Ryan Wilder just be another rich black woman, and a rich black woman who sees Batwoman, gets inspired by her, and then she finds Batwoman in a tragic situation and then decides to take up this mantle? Why couldn't you write that kind of story and give us a character on the same level? Because when it comes down to many of your woke people are asleep as related to understanding how racist they really are. Because, I mean, if I wanted to replace Kate Kane with another woman, I would have just either brought in Kathy Duquesne from Mystery of the Batwoman, or I would have created another character on the same level, so that, okay, you want to come up with the argument that Bruce Wayne is left. I would have come up with the actual argument of this as my premise for Batwoman. If I were to have pitched it, I would have said Bruce Wayne and his team are a bit overwhelmed with all the crime in Gotham City, and this woman wants to come in and work on this case. And if you wanted to do the whole Kate Kane is missing, bring in another millionaire friend and have her come in. I mean, you could do this and it would work very well, but because these writers are lazy, and many of the woke writers, while they are so caught up in their agenda emotionally, they don't want to put the work in at the keyboard or iron out the technical details of your storytelling. And that's why so many woke comics, woke movies, and woke TV shows are so terrible, because these people, they just run on feelings and they don't take time to research facts, and that's why their shows are some of the worst ever produced. So when it comes down to this Batwoman Season 2, I don't expect this to be a really solid season. I expect it to be worse than Arrow Season 2.5, Season 3, and Season 4. And I expect it to be absolutely terrible, because we all know the Berlanti curse kicks in Season 2.5, but I'm expecting it to kick in on Episode 1. So this whole casting, as I see it, of this Ryan Wilder character with this Javicia Leslie, this is going to be one big disaster, because your CW didn't really think about its story. It rushed things together, slapped things together, and I'm expecting an unmitigated disaster of levels of cringe that will take things to the next level in Batwoman Season 2. If you want to pick up some of my books featuring black heroines, like the ISIS series, the E-Steam series, the Thetas, and the Spinsterella trilogy, you can find all of those books featuring strong black heroines on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find many of those books on Smashwords and the iBookstore, and coming to Gumroad.com. And if you want to see me make more videos and be able to publish more books, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, and my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Those who refuse the gift of eternal life are condemned to wander in the darkness of eternal night.